Hi everyone, it's Lisa from lisafurlan.com, and I am a crowdfunding consultant for authors to help them fully fund their books on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Now today I want to talk to you about selling or doing events and your first event. There is no event like your first event, right? Like you don't know what to expect, you have no idea who's going to be there, you don't know if what you packed is the right stuff or what, and you've been doing research and you've been looking at what other people are doing and you're like, does this work or not? I have no idea. Let's go and find out. So congrats to you for booking your first event and for taking that step forward and saying, I'm going to put myself out there in a really real way. And I feel vulnerable and I feel weird and awkward, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have to see if this is worth my time. And that is really the right attitude to have for your first event. You're there testing the waters and experimenting to see, is this the right use of my time? Is this the right audience? Is this the good am I getting good feedback on my book? Like all of this stuff. And it really helps you refine your messaging and really gives you that one-on-one person interaction that you can't have sitting in your office by yourself, connecting with people online. You know, there's something about being in person that you just can't do online. It just is impossible. Anyway, so at your first event, and I'm not talking about an event where you give a presentation and then you sell your books after, or you're hosting your book launch event. Those are different events. I'm not talking about a school reading or some type of guest lecture event. I'm not talking about those events. I'm talking about an event where you are a vendor with a lot of other vendors around you, and you are now in the vendor circle and you are selling a product of your book and you're trying to do this. And the same can apply if you're doing an event before you have your book ready and you're trying to get people interested in your Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign. So this type of event is where you are the unexpected person at the event kind of thing, where people walking by may not know you're there and they go, oh, a book. And they like walk towards your booth and they look through your book. Okay, so that's the type of event we're talking about. And my advice for this is to go in again with that very positive, optimistic, hopeful mindset, because that will get you through. I would go in with high standards and low expectations. Go in saying, hey, I'm going to do the best that I can, but I'm not going to expect to sell a lot because this is my first time and I know I'm going to make mistakes and I know this is the first time people are seeing me and getting a chance to get to know me, and so therefore they may not buy right away because it takes time for people to see you at these things before they may decide, or they may need to see an ad before they see you in person and they go, oh yeah, that's right, I know you. So don't go in with huge expectations of sales necessarily. Go in as a learning experience for you as well as for them. You're going to educate your audience on who you are and your book, and sales are just sort of cherry on top. So go in with that attitude and you can't go wrong. Now, another thing you want to think about is if you have a physical product, so you're not doing a Kickstarter campaign. With Kickstarter or Indiegogo events, you are there giving them information. So you're telling them what the book is about, and maybe you have something free. You really want to attract people. So that's a different story than necessarily selling, because you want to attract people in and you leave them in with information and a call to action to back your campaign on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So you want to have this interaction with the people at your booth or your table or whatever. But you need to think about, how are you going to take payment? How are you going to take their money? And this is what I would call a crucial point. So how are you going to take their money? Are you going to take it via PayPal? Is there another electronic app system that you can take money? Are you going to swipe cards? Are you taking cash? What are the options? And what makes it easiest for your audience and for you? Now, frankly, I don't like taking cash. We don't have cash in Sweden, really. I mean, we do, but we don't. And at these vendor type affairs, there's an app very similar to PayPal. It's called Swish. Everybody swishes. So super easy. So I handled 0 cards and 0 cash. Everyone just swished. So it was really important that my phone number be super clear and big, so people can just easily type it in, and you just put Swish on top or PayPal or whatever. So you make the way that people are going to pay you super clear, because that's what they're looking for. They're like, okay, how does this person take money? You don't want them to have any question in their head when they approach you that things are for sale on your table. Another thing that I recommend is if you have things that are free on your table and you have things that are for sale on your table, to clearly label them as free or the price that you're charging. So a lot of people approached my table, and they're mostly kids. They wanted to buy my decorations. I'm like, no, those are my decorations. I had decorations on the table, and some people thought I was selling the decorations. And I'm like, no. And you could hear, and they're like, oh, it's a book. Oh, she's selling books. And so next time, I will just make it very clear. And maybe I sell my decorations. Maybe I just sell them. My decorations. Sure, you can buy them for a cost. And you get the book. You have to buy the book. But yeah, so just really make it clear, free and the price. Like free or the price. Whatever you're doing, make sure it's clear because you don't want people to be confused. Sometimes the more you have on your table, the more it takes away from what people are looking at. Because people, especially in a fair or a marketplace or wherever, farmer's market, there's a lot of stalls and there's a lot of people, a lot of things going on, or they're dealing with their kid in the stroller and they're just scanning. They're totally scanning. So you want to make your booth as scannable as possible. So that if someone is just scanning through, they're like, oh, okay, I want to go over there. There's a book for sale, a Halloween book or whatever book, and I want to buy it. So make your setup as scannable as possible. It means if you have something printed on a garland or whatever, make the letters have to be huge because, again, you're scanning, you're just looking. So if you have anything that's really tiny, it's not going to translate well at a distance, in a crowd, or when people are walking by. So just keep all of that in mind. What I recommend everyone do is look at people's work who's doing a really good job. So there are a lot of Facebook groups where there are authors and they have booth setups. And so you just ask a question and say, or search the group first and search for people who have already posted about events and what their tables look like. Or if you don't see any of those, then say, hey, can you guys send me pictures of your setup? I want to see how your tables are set up. And then look at the ones that you would approach yourself and say, okay, is this scannable? Is there a clear focal point for a buyer to be attracted to your stand or whatever? And then do that, use that as a model for your own book and say, okay, they have a big banner. They had a tall thing on a screen. I like that. How much is that? Is that worth my time? Maybe my 5th event, I will invest in that and see. And so there's always a balance between how much do you invest to get out of it versus how much you just try things out for free. This is really always a balance to strike. If you were doing an outdoor event, you're going to want a tent, like a pavilion tent of some sort, and it's going to have to withstand weather and wind because that is what's going to be there. And you don't know if you're going to be on pavement or if you're going to be in grass. And so you might need like weights that weigh down your tent, because we had a tent that didn't have weights and it like blew off. And we're like, okay, we got to take that down now because that did not work out. So there are definitely things that bring weights. Like you have to bring weights to weigh down your tent so it doesn't blow away. So it protects you from the rain and creates this little cozy space for people to come in and talk to you and have all of that. So I think at the end of the day, it's always wonderful to see, if you're a children's book author, it's wonderful to see children reacting to your book because they just come and they, wow, this is great. And then, it's wonderful to have the parents hold it in their hands and flip through. What I did was I had my book open. I had it up, of course I had it like displayed, but then I had my book open in the wind. And so it was just open to the middle of the page. And as the wind blew, it actually blew pages. And so it was sort of like this unintended natural action on my table that attracted people. And they're like, oh, and the book being open, they could see, oh, this is cool. Okay. It's really interesting because at events, online sales, you don't see all the people turning you down. You put your book in front of 1,000 people. Let's say you put your book in front of 1,000 people a day and you get 20 sales. Awesome. 20 sales, And so, but you don't see the 980 people who said no thank you. Whereas when you're at an event, you see those people and it's just all day. and you're like, ah. And so you had 20 sales, but you also visually saw 980 rejections. You know what I mean? So it can kind of start to play with your head a little. And that's why I'm saying go into this with like zero expectations. Like just go in this with all positivity, and this is a learning experience, and I'm super excited about it, because getting that visual rejection time and time and time again, it's really like, it will strengthen you as an author, but it might also tear you down a little if you're not prepared for it. So definitely go with like some type of support system, because yeah, it's a lot of rejection, and it's a lot of just a lot of positive feedback, but also a lot of rejection, and that can be tough. Like the positive feedback is great, but it's just such a fraction of the rejection that you're like, I gotta hold on to it. Hold on to it. All right, so let me know how your event went. If you have an event, if you have ever done an event, if you're thinking of an event, let me know in the comments and we can chat about it, and like, okay, what type of tent should you buy? If you're doing a tent, if you're doing an outdoor event, you have to protect your books. Books don't like rain, so you have to protect yourself. So it's kind of like the necessary things: tent, table, tablecloth, and then frames. You could just do like picture frames and put your information in there. It's really simple, pretty cheap. You're looking at an investment of maybe $150 in total with everything, depending on where you live. So hopefully that's not too large of an investment that you can't recoup relatively quickly. And then after that, you just have to decide, okay, is this how I like spending my weekends? Because this is a lot. This is a lot of effort and energy and time to do this, and I'm not sure it was worth the payout, Or just focus on online sales, and then you skip all the rejection. People are still rejecting you every day. Don't get me wrong. People are constantly saying no to your book, constantly. You only see the people who say yes, and that's when, yay, that's when you celebrate. So maybe that's better. Maybe that's better for everyone involved. Anyway, okay. I hope your book event planning is going well. As the holiday season nears, you're going to be thinking about selling in more and more events. And hopefully these tips were helpful for you. If you have a link to a picture or something, please share it below. If you upload a picture, that would be great, of your table setup. I would love to see it. And yes, let me know if you have any tips yourself. Okay, bye everyone. All right, those are my tips. How did your first event go? How did you sell lots of books, or did you just get to talk to people?